Good evening. We are live. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday night. God, for some reason, I was going to say Friday night, and it's like, wait, wrong night of the week. Although, I already had that issue for the people out there paying attention. Damn it. Hold on one second. I can't believe I just did that. Oh, kidding me. That nice file. Spilled it everywhere. There we go. Like a complete moron. We'll fix that later. All right. Well, anyways, hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. There we go. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday night. About to say Friday night for some reason, but almost went there. Yeah, muted. I knocked something over, so I had to catch myself there. So let's see here. Hope everybody's doing well. If you guys are new, this is the Thursday Night Crime Stream. My name is Potentially Criminal, also known as Sean. I am a defense attorney over on the eastern side of Cleveland. Not the east side of Cleveland, but close enough. And I talk about a lot of things going on in the law. Generally try to focus on the criminal side of it, but whatever else is going on out there. If you guys are new, we generally try to give about 10 minutes to get things going, let people show up who are obviously working on more important things in life, but also just in case YouTube is not the best at notifying everybody, because almost like I'm really good at this or something. I'm not really, but apparently YouTube seems to think so because they don't let people in right away. They give them delayed notices for some reason, which I don't get. But, I guess I had that effect on Susan Wojcicki, so I'm proud of it. I want to say hello to everybody that's out there, including the people out on Facebook, Twitch, for some reason that we're still alive on, Twitter, Kick, Rumble in the Rumble Ghetto, and then everybody here, obviously, if you're on YouTube, hello. And then everybody that is over on Locals. If you guys aren't aware of what Locals is basically like Patreon, but it's 100 times better. There really aren't any issues there. And you can join at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. It is free to sign up to the Locals. If you want to become a supporter, though, it is a $3 a month. That's the least they let me charge. If you pay for 10 months, you get 2 months free. Along with that, though, you get access to, actually, like, for example, right now, which I forgot to put up, is the Thursday live chat, which is supposed to be going on along with the live stream here. You also get access to the live stream that happens after this show on Locals. We usually have an after show on Thursdays, pretty much every time. Depends for how long. Sometimes half hour, sometimes a little bit longer. And then on Mondays, we have a show generally at about 8:30 or 8:45-ish, depending on that time. And we usually go for, I don't know, sometimes go for 2.5 hours. Sometimes we go for an hour, hour and a half. It really just depends on how things are going. And in those streams, we get to talk about things that generally just didn't really apply here, didn't fit here. And it's just a lot more fun. It's kind of like just a different setting, a little more laid back. And that's over at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. You can do it 1 month for free if you want to try it out using the promo code criminal. Like I said, you get full access to everything. You can find out if it's for you. Let's see here. And for those of you who are over there on Locals, your chat, I forgot about it, but your chat is up. Oh, did it actually? Yeah, there we go. It is up. All right. Oh. Now, before we get too far, we have to get to the most important thing of all. Who got first? Because really, that's all that matters. If you ain't first, you last. And we need to check with places here. And the first place we're going to check is over on YouTube. And we're going to check who got first over on YouTube. First, there is Corn saying first. Very timeless. Very timeless classic. Congratulations. Then the first over in Rumble, on the Rumble Ghetto, is Winter Soldier saying that the Rumble Ghetto fears Caroline Ellison. And if you guys aren't aware who that is Sam Bankman-Fried's mess snorting girlfriend who looks a bit like a troll, but we won't, I didn't say that. You did. I didn't say such a thing. That's not my that's not I'm just merely stating what I've heard. I mean, I've heard she looks like one. I'm not saying she is. That's just, I would never dare say that about somebody. I would never take SBF and besmirch his queen because you don't know what that man will do for his queen and on behalf of her. Oh my here. What's going on, you guys? I'm not very high. My high, like I'm not coming through well. Or what's going on here? Hmm. Yeah, so you guys should have locals chat by now. And why is something's something is everything's like weird looking right now on my screen. Everything seems bigger than what it's supposed to be. And I know it's what she said, but just a little bit it's weird here. So forgot to take down the banner, that helps too. All right, guys. So where are we with this? Got a couple of Jim says, are we going to talk about the shmooting at Schmedley's? Yes, it's a very interesting situation out there in Maine. I didn't actually happen to notice. Did they catch that guy yet? Let me see here. I don't know if they did. There was a guy who did the shooting in Maine. He shot a bowling alley, a couple of other places. Yeah, he's as far as we know, he's still on the run. And, first they made it sound like he went for the high score, but he wasn't too bad. Say Agus Biochemist, yes. James Bieber saying Ashtabula. Oh, holy cow. That's I'm out in that neck of the woods all the time. I was just out there today. YouTube is being pricks. They tend to do that. I mean, if they weren't, they wouldn't be YouTube. Carlos Ramirez, so the hard R's are included in locals. Yes. All the R's you want. All the R's. No Name says, what is it like being one of the only normal lawyers left on YouTube? I don't know. It feels weird, but I'd like to have a lot more subscribers. So I don't know. Being like Emily Baker doesn't seem so bad, at least to try it. JL says, I was mentioned very high on Robert Gavea's channel. Oh, I mean, if I got mentioned by Robert, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Robert is a very good attorney. I know he's doing Watching the Watchers and everything full time. I love how he does his stuff, and I love his focus on all this. I mean, it is really, really good. And if you guys really want to be able to follow what's going on with Trump, he's been able just to dial it in and follow with a really good laser focus. So I really recommend him because every day he is just going at it. And I'd love to be doing it like he's doing it in the future. That'd be very much a way I'd like to handle it. Should I do this full time? Say Sean is not very high. I mean, like, I don't know. Stevie saying, I had such a busy week. I forgot it was Thursday. I'm like, you have no fucking idea. Like, I'm looking at my calendar and I'm like, fuck, I got stuff I got to worry about for next week already. So, I trust me. I am very much in a similar thing. Say, Tridio saying, did you see Nick did a mass shooting? Oh no. What the Baldo Bandit? Is that what happened? Oh. The Baldo Brigand, is that his name? Everybody's got a name of where they're from. The Scourge of Spicer. The Baldo Bandit. What else could you call him? I don't know. No, I didn't know about that. If that's a joke, I didn't get it. Silver Smurfer says, "What's up? Watching from 30,000 feet tonight. Thank you. I hope you're having a good flight. Or if you're like haloing in somewhere, have fun with that too." But I need to get started on these. Provided there are some super chats I need to hit up first. Unhung Hero for $2. Thank you so much. Says, "I'm gonna come. Don't come. Don't come." Rick Nikita says, "Sean, you know, I as a kid there were Sean's. Mine's SEAN. There was an SHAUNN. There was an SHAWN. Then I think there was like I could have sworn to God there was like an SHAUN as well. And I think there at one point there were 3 Seans in one grade. And we all had different spellings. So, but that's surprisingly not one of them. Not one of them, surprisingly. Fair Frozen 55 for $5. Thank you. It's saying having a long workday, but extra hours means extra pay. Did I see the NYPD's 3D printing guide? Yes. Very informative. Yes, if you go on to Odyssey through Odyssey, you can see that the NYPD has put together a very good curation of their belief in the history and very common ways of not only 3D printed, but ghost guns are put together, handled, and created. So all kinds of rudimentary firearms. So if you're wanting to take some notes, they might not be a bad place. It's a very well laid out. And also, I want to remind everybody, I have Saturday on Rumble, because God forbid YouTube would kill me if I try this here. I am going to be doing in honor of Halloween, a spooky ghost gun carving, and I'm just going to be playing with a P80 polymer 80 lower. Should be a fun time. I thought about trying to make it like some sort of competition or have multiple people on. I might try to reach out to like Matt LaRosiere and whoever wants to come on, just to hang out while I'm doing it. I don't know. Something I thought it'd be kind of funny, but we might be hanging out on Rumble for a little bit on Saturday night. Also, speaking of things for tomorrow, today was the Ethan Liming. The 2 guys had their sentencing today. I did not get a chance to get everything done today in time. Tomorrow afternoon, we will be watching that. I have a hearing very shortly at 9 a.m. I'm hoping I find out like first thing in the morning gets killed. Tomorrow morning I will be doing, and then that way I can do the future conflicts with Scott and the gang. And we get through that, and then probably like noon, 1 o'clock, we'll do the hearing, and then we'll be all set. So I didn't get to it today, but I want to let you guys know we are going to be doing that tomorrow. If you guys are curious about it, you can go back through, especially through last week. We watched all 4 days of the Ethan Liming trial. He's the kid who Ethan Liming was beat to death at LeBron James's charter school in Akron, Ohio, just south of me. And it's a little different than what the media portrayed. It wasn't just, some white kid getting just randomly attacked by some black kids. Very, very different story. Very different story. And then Mega Mobas for $9.99. Thank you very much for your support. Saying, I'm going to split my locals monies from Nick and send the difference to you and Joe. I've really come to enjoy your salty and coarse opinion. Your impartiality to everything is admirable. I appreciate that. I like to try to be impartial, but I know there's a lot of times I'd probably not. It's really hard not to be. But I do my best. I do my best to try to just at least kind of lay things out everywhere. Also, tomorrow will be coming out is the story about Larry Vickers. If you guys are familiar with YouTube and the firearms community, you're familiar with Vickers Tactical. Larry Vickers pled out to a couple different felonies. So he ain't going to be doing no gun stuff no more. And I'm going to talk about what he did and why some of it was, all of it's bad, according to the government, and why he did things like a boomer and why he got caught. We'll be talking, you guys will be seeing that tomorrow. And that's a shame for $199. So thank you so much. Says a haircut, just a shower, looking sharp either way. I appreciate that. Thank you. So it is Scheme like it says the Hito Heathen. That's not a bad one either. Yes, the Racketeer. That's like the Rocketeer character in Disney. They had him way back in the day. Yeah, it's Jeff saying when I was in school, did I take out all the Shawns? No, they I think they all moved away or something. I know after like that year or two, there weren't any Shawns around. So yes, the Anarchist print book by the NYPD. Yes, it is out there. It's definitely something to look for. There's a bot over on Twitch. That's interesting. Yes, free Larry. Yeah. And Eric Fulham says, is this the Ethan Ralph Vickers? No, this Vickers was a former member of the United States Army's Delta Force, had a long history in defending America, became a consultant in the firearms industry, and then, made a name for himself training in the Second Amendment community and just being a very outspoken opponent. So no, not that Vickers. This Vickers, was protecting America. So not involved in the sector at all. Now, I guess let's get to the first thing here. And it's when I heard about this, I was really confused because it's the issue about the plane where the pilot tried to crash it. And I learned about this on Monday. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense who it was because generally speaking, people who, we need to rewind a bit. To get onto an airliner, to sit in what's called the jump seat, that's inside of the cockpit. And way back in the day, you used to be able to get a lot of people could get in the jump seats. For example, if you were an air traffic controller and you worked for the FAA, you could actually get into the jump seat. And you could get on the airplane. And that way you could actually save like plane tickets because you only had to buy one. Like if you had kids, you could you could save money by doing it that way. After 9/11, that pretty much disappeared. It was only airplane personnel could ride in the jump seats after that. Well, it's very interesting what happened from there. And I when I heard about this, I was like, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, we're gonna get to what this guy did. It's just crazy what he did. So you've got a guy who, Otto's saying they still can, no air traffic control, and FAA still can. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. So I did not know that. But the issue here was an off-duty pilot was flying up there, and that's a very typical thing to let them do. Off-duty pilots get to obviously fly in their planes for free, and that is a very common thing. They will, bump their cruiser. They'll get their crews around everywhere they need to go, and he gets to hang out up front. They get access to a little better food, gets to hang out. So what happened? Well, he was trying to crash an Alaska Airlines flight. So he was sitting behind the captain, the first officer. So you got the two pilots flying along, and he tried to reach up and crash the airplane. And what did he do? Well, he tried to use the fire extinguishers on the engines. Now, if you guys have ever seen any pictures of a cockpit, there are two big handles generally. Well, actually, for every number of airplanes you have, however many engines you have what are these big ass red handles, and they're usually up above you. And they are for cases of fire. And what they are is you yank on them and they will kill the engine. They flood the engine with CO2 and chemicals, and it stops it. It stops the engine from going, because if you have a fire, for example, and your engine's on fire, Well, that engine could turn into a massive bomb because it's something spinning at thousands of RPMs, full of titanium blades. And yes, they're supposed to be contained and they're meant to prevent from exploding, but they can still explode. And when you're flying, yes, fire is very bad. Fire is not your friend. The ground is also not your friend, but as long as you're in the air, you don't want fires and you don't want anything that can explode. Because if it explodes, it could blow you up, it could rip apart your plane, it could kill everybody on board. Well, once you do that, the airplane will lose power and that's it. So he tried to grab those and the pilot stopped him. They said, the pilots were very calm about it. I can't remember where the air traffic control list or description where they're just like, yeah, we need to divert. The guy tried to unsuccessfully disrupt the operation of the engines. They're very calm about it. They weren't like, yeah, fuck this son of a bitch. Very calm, very professional. And they said they've got him out of the cockpit and he's back in the passenger cabin and wasn't trying to fight him. So the passengers were told it was a medical emergency. They had no idea what happened. And they had to make an emergency landing. And the guy who did it is facing 83 counts of reckless endangerment and attempting to kill 83 people. Now, there were some issues about what happened to him. And while he wasn't flying, they think and according to him, he said he'd been up for a couple of days. He'd been dealing with a lot of mental health issues. And he had taken a bunch of, excuse me, he had taken a bunch of psilocybin. He'd taken some shrooms. And it sounds like they kind of mess with him a little bit. It wasn't like what we thought of for, a lot of people might have been thinking like, oh, this is something related to Israel or Hamas or something. Nope. It's just kind of some dude having a midlife crisis and was thinking, well, fuck it. Which would have been horrible. So it was just, yes, it was very un-Sky King. Yes, very un-Sky King of him. Yes. And Fair Frozen says at the temperatures modern jet turbines function, a surprising number of non-flammable things become very flammable. Yes. Very, very true. Meat Candy says, do you think he'll be on the no-fly list? Probably. The very least, I doubt he's having a job with Alaskan Airlines anytime soon. If I had to guess, I don't think he's going to be allowed back. Saban says, I think he's trying to plead guilty to the biggest possible charge. I wonder if his lawyers are going to go for not guilty by reason of insanity. Maybe. Remember, though, I don't know exactly where he's being charged federally or if it's in state courts. That governs, what type of insanity you can do because every state has different insanity standards and then the federal government has a different insanity standard. Part of it, excuse me. Oh, I don't know what's getting into me tonight. Part of the issue with insanity at the end of the day is he's got an issue of he took shrooms, which causes a bit of a problem because that's involuntary intoxication is something you can make an argument for. In his case, it's he voluntarily took them, and it sounds like he took them and he knew what they were. Now, I don't know the full story of what he said so far, what he hasn't. Hopefully he shut up. I really hope he shut the fuck up about it because he really needs to shut up. This is not the time to talk to the police. But I bet he did. So we'll find out. It will be very interesting going forwards. But it's not as easy as to say, "Oh, I was crazy." I mean, yes, it sounds like he's having an issue, but excuse me, God, I am sorry. I don't know what the hell I am coughing on, but not good, not good. Sorry about that, everybody. Um, Erday saying a Chinese pilot tried to do it. Yeah, they did. So there's no barrel roll. Yeah, sadly, there's no barrel roll in this situation. You know, Ghazi Cellmate says, I need to stand up and get it out. Yeah, I might in a second. Do I need a lozenge? No, I don't. And then amateur, that's just right. He'll get hired by Spirit. Yes, I'm sure Spirit will always help him. And Petty saying, go drink water. I'm drinking water right now. American Dreamer says, because you didn't wash the cup. I'm like, this cup's pretty clean. Thank you. And was he wearing a BK? Was he wearing a BK crown? Maybe. Maybe he was wearing a BK crown. Now, somebody who didn't have it their way today, having a bit of a rough time, if we can say the least. Oh boy. Is Sam Bankman-Fried, who is still out there and still alive. Still alive. I am absolutely surprised he's still alive. Defying the odds, Sam. If you guys don't remember, Sam Bankman-Fried is the founder and basically the scam artist behind FTX, which really more and more looks like it was just a big money laundering front for governmental entities. And let's be real, that's pretty much what it was. And he's standing trial for multiple counts of fraud. And Chance, okay, yes. Maybe he didn't actually know anything. We'll get to that. He actually kind of tries to make that happen. So what happened today for Sam? Well, he was in court today, and it sounds like he's going to testify on his own defense, which I can't believe he's doing that. Because it's just never a good idea. And it makes it even worse because he's an idiot. I don't know if you guys, we've covered his previous interviews. I know Rob over on Law and Lumber has as well. It's just bad. He is very stupid. He seems to have a very naive sense of the world. I don't know if that or he's playing naive. He seems to have a lot of autism going on. And it's just none of his interviews he's provided have been helpful to him. They've all been heavily damaging to his position here. But he keeps talking and he keeps doing shit. And he's still there doing things, which I just now ultimately it's his decision whether or not he testifies. His lawyers can't stop him. He has the right to take the stand. They can advise him saying, hey, this is a bad idea. But ultimately, he can still do it on his own. So what's going to happen? So he spent today, and as this is all we get to know. We don't get video because it's federal court. We don't get audio. We get people telling us what happened. So, for example, when Joe went down to Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, we only know about it because he was there. So we know SBF had a very bad day in federal court because this Crystal Kim is telling us. So he was on the stand today, but it wasn't in front of the jury. This was the judge sitting in court with defense counsel and the state and the federal government trying to figure out what are they going to be able to talk about? What can they go through? So SBF was on the stand for 3 hours as they tried to figure out what was going on and make rulings on what he could do. So it was there were some issues though, and they tried to bring in what was going on. And one of the things he was trying to argue, and it sounds like this was something the defense has been trying to get ready to bring up throughout the state's case, but now it's their turn to present evidence, is that he relied on the defensive counsel. And not only counsel, but advisors and people in positions that were helping him. And that is a valid defense. For example, in a tax case, if you were working with your accountants and certified people, well, that can be a defense. In his situation, lawyers told me this was legal, there are times where that is an effective defense. And it does isolate you from liability. So he's claiming, hey, these guys told me what happened. Well, there was a problem there because as they tried to have him explain what was going on, he couldn't do it very well. And he lacked a lot of details that all the other witnesses, like Caroline Ellison, his girlfriend, and everybody else in the government testified, they were just like, blah, just barfing it all over the place. Well, SBF, no, he couldn't. He had nothing. He had nothing. There were times where the judge got involved asking questions. And once again, this is not a fact-finding issue. This is judges figuring out what's going on here. Can this guy testify? The person points out that it was difficult to hear him give a clean quote. It sounds like he was very timid. It sounds like he was probably mumbling a lot and just wasn't clear about what's going on. He tried to, and this is something you guys can't do. If you're ever in a situation where you're testifying in court, this is why you don't testify, and you should avoid ever having to testify. Because if you start trying to think, that's not the time to think like a lawyer. You're in the crosshairs. This is a time to think like a rabbit getting shot at. You're not going to be able to sit there and think, oh, gee, I need to shoot back. No, you need to survive. He tried to use legalese. He tried to dance around questions. He wondered aloud whether it's in scope. That this ain't your time. This ain't your time. You're not what? This isn't an episode of Suits. You're not Mike Ross. Okay, you're sure as fuck ain't Harvey Specter. And you should thank God you're not Meghan Markle or whatever the fuck her name was, because she was just awful. Much to the dismay of future Mrs. Martin 2.0. You're not. So don't try to make these games. Don't try to do any of this. It's just not good. And he fell apart. The judge at one point had to tell him to listen to the prosecutor's questions and answer them directly. And that's part of the issue. If you're not, and now what else do we know? That prosecutor now knows they can go after him, because the minute he starts hesitating, he starts avoiding questions, the jury's going to see that and they're going to go, holy shit, this guy's a fucking liar. No question about it. Think about it. If you're on a jury and the guy won't answer the questions clearly, you're going to be like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Number one, he's sketchy. Number two, and he's probably hiding things. So you're not going to listen to him. So it will be very interesting to see what happens for SBF there. Now, I will say the New York Post had a different version of this here. They said his defense, when he was on the stand, he said, I don't recall a dozen times, which it's really hard to say I don't recall, because this is not the way you want to do it. So that's it's not good when you do that. And when the judge says the witness is an interesting way of responding to questions, not good. This is not at all where you want to be. The judges, Judges, I think, really kind of. I I think the judge is struggling between the issue of like, are you a liar? Or are you some kind of tard? I think that's where the judge is really struggling here. So, that's the issue. That is the issue. And there he is. There he is. You're like, I got my paper bag. Look at me. It's not good. And it's just clear he's going to struggle. He's going to take the stand, and his attorneys will get him through it. And then when the DOJ gets up there, they are just going to right in the back of his head. It's a very common thing. It's a very common thing. That's the downfall of testifying on your own behalf. Stabby says you can't be a douchebag on the stand. Very true. Very true. But you also can't come across as an idiot. Stabby says, does he think he's testifying in front of Congress? Yeah. Pepsi Man says he should use the Ron Toye defense. You can't throw a remote control at the judge and say, shut up. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at the end of the day. Sin Figuring is saying, well, Bill Clinton did it a million times. Yes, and Bill Clinton got screwed at the end of the day. Sure, he didn't get prosecuted for perjury, but he lost his law license and everything else that happened to him. And also was the first president to be impeached like that and caused an entire dumpster fire. So it didn't really turn out too well for him at the end of the day. I would just point that out as a concern. So, it's just it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I would just highly, highly recommend you not testify in your own defense if you don't have to. Because you're literally stepping out there for the first time ever having to defend your ass, and you're going against somebody else who's got at least more experience than you. Even if it's somebody fresh out of law school. They've spent years preparing for this. They've studied the way of the blade. They may not know the riddle of steel. They may not know the riddle of steel, but they know the way of the blade. And you're kind of like, just like, yeah, I'm figuring this out. I'm figuring this out as I go. It's not the way you want to do it. And if it's a adversary with experience, it's even worse for you. So even in civil situations, you don't want to be in this spot. I never, never, ever recommend it. But we will see what happens to our boy, and maybe he hangs himself in the meantime, because I don't know how this is going to go. I really don't. So, before we get going too far here, I did want to ask, I know a name of, or that's a shame, I know you're out there. Do you have the link to the Delphi motion that was filed? Because I don't actually have a copy of it, and I wanted to cover that tonight, and I thought I had the link for it, but apparently it's not working for me. So if you have that, if you could send me an email, I'd appreciate it. But that said, moving on, as far as people testifying, and well, was it really testifying? No, but it was a kind of a struggle session for as far as things were concerned. Jenna Ellis, the former member of President Trump's legal team in the aftermath of what occurred in the 2020 election, the most secure, reinforced, fortified, and honest engine good election ever, just full of good boys who never did nothing wrong. No, not even weirdness. And how dare you for thinking so otherwise? Well, that happened. And Jenna Ellis entered a plea, just like Kenneth Chesbrough did, just like Sidney Powell did. Well, Jenna Ellis entered a plea. And once again, this is Fani Willis allowing people to enter pleas to things that allow them to engage in first-time offender programming, which means if they complete probation and other requirements, their charges just disappear. Their convictions just disappear, which, as I said before, if you're trying to establish there's some massive conspiracy and these people are so evil. I was arguing with Pisco. I know it's the guy Joe had his whole issue about with. If this is such a horrible, horrible, horrible thing that occurred, and these people are really bad guys, they're so bad. They try to undermine democracy and subvert the will of the people. They try to do all this crap. If they really try to do all of this, why are you giving them things like this? I get it. They're trying to get them to flip. Okay, yeah, maybe. But if you're trying to get people to flip, you don't have to give away everything. I mean, you're literally letting these people walk away as though it never even happened. And that's not something that makes any sense. As I've said before, this doesn't work. Bad guys. Well, you could say it like that, or just like, really, really bad guys. So she ended up pleading guilty. And this is just not something that I don't get why Fanny's doing it like this. Unless she is completely scared of going to trial. If her case is good, she shouldn't be afraid of giving a preview away. Fine, take a look. Here's my playbook. You can't beat it in a year of Sundays. That's what she should be doing. I don't care. Fuck it. I'll let you take a look at it. Can't stop me. Can't see me now. That's what she should be doing. But the fact she's just giving it away for people. Yeah, this is not the position of strength. This is not strength you're looking at here. So she pled guilty in the Georgia RICO case. And notice nobody's been charged. None of these people are pleading out to RICO. So it's really going to be hard for them to say, well, yeah, I was involved in a conspiracy. You weren't charged with it. So she entered a plea to multiple counts. She pled guilty to one count of aiding and abetting false statements. That's it. Aiding and abetting false statements. Not even like Sidney Powell and Chesbro being involved in election interference. Just aiding and abetting false statements, which could be a lot of different things. So she got 5 years of probation, has to pay $5,500 restitution. Here's the thing, guys. If I'm your attorney and this comes to me, this isn't bad. You're in first-time offender program. You're going to complete it. And it's funny because you are a white-collar professional being put on probation. And for people over there on Twitter, and I've tried to explain this to them, absent having severe mental health issues or substance abuse problems, being on probation generally isn't a problem for most people. Stay out of trouble. Have a job, keep your job. Get educated. Well, you're already educated. Don't do drugs. Don't do alcohol. You're going to have a bit of a curfew. You can't hang out with people who have other people on probation. Okay? And if you want to leave the state, you need permission. Well, Jenna Ellis, I don't think lives in Georgia anyway. So, you have to notify you have to notify people when you're leaving. Yeah. Is that better than, being on your own with no conditions? Sure. But these are also not violent crimes. If you have issues, your attorneys will certainly be able to get your terms modified. This is a pretty good deal because eventually, like I said, it just goes away. What's not to love? Once again, this is not a position of strength from the prosecutor. This is either somebody who grossly overcharged or just gives away insane plea deals. You can choose which one that is, but neither one of those is impressive. Unlike the other people, she gave a very tearful statement she had to read off. It really reeked of a show. I mean, it's all show trial nonsense, but this one was just really cringe. And I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna give the dignity of that situation any more than I think it deserves, which is none. If I knew what I then knew now, I would have declined to represent the Orange Man in these election challenges. I look back on this experience with deep remorse. Her voice was breaking at times. It was so bad. The Orange Man tricked me. The Orange Man, he broke my mind. Basically the Kathy Griffin defense. So I don't think this helps at all. If they flip, what do they really have? Because you should be able to prosecute this case if nobody flipped. That's the point. This case should have been winnable if nobody flips. Because if they all go down, you should be able to burn them alive. But you can't. So now you're indicting. That means you're indicting people who didn't deserve to be indicted or shouldn't have been indicted, which, if you're running around screaming, and I'm just spitballing here. If you're running around screaming, these people are horrible and ruined democracy and are big pieces of shit. That's a pretty big piece of shit move, I would argue. And makes you, if not worse, I would argue you're 100 just as worse, if not even worse than them, based upon your own standards. It's absolute horseshit. So, but she does give her apology. I'm an attorney who's also a Christian. I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all my dealings. I failed to do my due diligence. That she relied on lawyers who are far more experienced than she was, that had true information. What I did not do but should have done was to make sure the facts in these lawyers were true. Yeah, well, either way, they're like, oh, she's toast. It's going to be very interesting to see what these attorneys are going to do. Even Kenneth Chesebro's attorney said there's nothing he can say that's going to hurt Trump or anybody else. So what value are you going to get from these things? And that becomes the question, what value is there to gain? And I think that's the problem. We'll see more, though, going forward. But yeah, it's out there. So, Play 2.0, though, we can catch up on some comments here. It says, heck yeah, Sean stream. Thank you. President-elect Phil Swift for $4.99 says, SBF was just bamboozled, caught off guard. If he had access to that mountain of Adderall and some of that cave troll moose knuckle, he could have powered through the day. Yes, he could have fixed all of this with enough Adderall, with enough amphetamines, and enough ugly-looking women. He could have fixed FTX. Still Life says, Sean, you are fired. You're fired. All right. I can't believe the Orange Man would do that to me. Pepsi Man says, Jenna Ellis got buck broken. Yeah, I guess you can look at it that way. Yeah, it is just a shame what happened. So like I said, I have a Chance saying it was a super duper secure election. Yes, very true. And then Yorick, hey man, how you doing? For $5, thank you, by the way, is saying, gooding, Sean. Prosecutors never threaten defendants into plea deals, right? That would be unethical, and of course, they would be held accountable. Yes, they would never do such a thing otherwise. How dare they? How dare they do this? Prosecutors would never abuse the system, and plea deals are never used to basically extort people. Yes, this was her struggle session. Yes, it was very, very, very awkward to listen to. Keopathic says, can't we just argue their idea of democracy isn't worth saving? Well, there is that issue. And Chaucerian fraud brings up a good point. Sure, it's a juicy carrot, but what's the stick? The stick is the risk of going to trial, because here's the deal. If you go to trial, if I'm the prosecutor and I go to trial and I lose, what happens? I go home. Yeah, you might get embarrassed, and sure, you might get, if you're the assistant prosecutors, you might get chewed out, and who hasn't been chewed out before? It's like Aldo Ranks says, yeah, I've been chewed out before, no big deal. If you're the defendant, you go to trial and you lose, you don't go home. And it's in Fulton County, and are you sure you're going to get a fair trial? So it's them knowing people will accept these bargains. This is, you'd have to be an idiot not to accept this stuff. Because at the end of the day, you can't guarantee a win. And this guarantees you a win. Your client walks out of there at the end of this with no conviction. Well, it puts your client in the best position possible, and it's a guaranteed outcome that your client controls. So absent your client fucking it up, yeah, why wouldn't you take it? It's about as good as it gets. So that's the reason why I think you should focus on it that way. That's how I would recommend you look at it. So, you guys are saying, do I have COVID over there in Rumble? No, I don't have COVID. I was coughing earlier. Yeah, Winter Soldier's pointing out there's no admissions of guilt. There have been it's been very weird what they're allowing them to plea out to. SB Solar says, is it even supervised probation? I don't know. And that's the thing. It might not even be supervised probation. That's up to the judge. He's gonna sort that out at some point in the future. So it might not even be that stringent. Like I said, their terms might be very, very loose and very, not too bad at the end of the day. Oh, that's a shame saying which thing. The thing that Rozzy just filed, the one where he points out what the judge did and everything that just happened. The motion to recuse the judge and what's the thing here? Hold on. What's this thing called? Yeah, the motion to disqualify. If you happen to have that access to that, if you could send it to me, I would appreciate it. But that is I'm just pointing out in the worst case scenario, let's say it's supervised probation. Because here's the thing, even if you live in a different state, you can always get it transferred, especially in their situation, undoubtedly. And, they can afford to pay for the transfer. They can afford to pay the cost of the fine. They could pay the restitution. These guys are making decent money. So it's not a problem. And then Chesterian Fraud says, you were a public defender, right? I used to be a public defender. I worked in a public defender's office, and I take court-appointed cases as part of my practice. But no, predominantly I'm my own cowboy. Says you've never had the state threaten your client in a plea deal before, but the thing is, the state does that to everybody. That's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are. They try to threaten and harass people no matter who they are, and that's the despicable part about it. That is the despicable part about it. That is the despicable part. So that is, yeah, very, very interesting. And where is... Phil Swift saying that's what somebody with COVID want us to believe. You have super COVID AIDS, Sean. How did you know? How did you know? Porcelain Thunder says saves money too. The lawyers can't be happy about that. No, the lawyers are happy. I mean, they're able to say, look, I've negotiated these kind of settlements for my client. That's a selling point. You're like, hire me. I can get you really bomb ass deals. Pike says she fundraised a ton of money to fight this. She should give refunds. Well, I mean, everybody, that's the thing. Everybody likes to talk about what they're going to do. I'm going to fight this. You know, everybody likes to think they're going to be John Wayne until they're standing in the OK Corral. That's the name of the game. You know, everybody thinks they got tombstone courage, you know, until the Clanton starts shooting back. You know, it's a whole different game when you're sitting there. I've said it before. When you're sitting at that table, the prosecutor turns around and says, that right there, this is the bad man, everyone. Look at the bad man. It's a different game. And when you see your name on an indictment, and, you know, that's them calling you out. It's them taking their shot at you. Staring down the barrel of an indictment is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Darcy says the U.S. just bombed something in Syria. I mean, when are they not? Illwars 333 saying, didn't Ellis bend the knee during her disciplinary action as well? It's pretty clear she lacks a spine despite taking money in both cases. Yeah, Jenna Ellis, you know, as Caesar, or I mean, not God, I mean, worry about getting clipped. I'm worried about people just actioning me for saying that. Mark Antony, as Mark Antony said during his eulogy for Julius Caesar, ambition should be made of sterner stuff. You know, you'd think she had it in her, but you know, the second the wind blew hard and the sky turned black, you know, Jenna ran for shelter. You know, she didn't bother grabbing a shovel and digging in, getting ready to fight. So that is, you know, it's also like, you know, the Joker says, like, I've seen people. She's a snitch. She'll turn. I've seen people like her. She's a talker. Yeah, she talked a big game, and then when you know, she talked about how bad, like, I'm ready to fuck, and everybody's like, okay, cool. And then when somebody whipped out their dick, she's like, how about another day, actually? Also reminds me of another way to phrase it. I think it's in Alcestis, the Greek play. I think you consider it tragedy. I think it's Alcestis, maybe. For even the boldest seek to flee when death offers their hand. Yeah, Jenna said she was all about this action. And then she's just about that action, boss. Well, okay, let's go. And she's like, how about no? That's a shame. Says it's not hard to threaten people when the threat is defined only as unlawful acts. Yeah. Yorick for $5 saying, for everyone, what's your retainer fee so we can all have an excuse just to say, talk to my lawyer? Then you can find somebody in jurisdiction for us. Well, if I'm having to find things for you, that increases the cost. But no, it's really, as far as like retaining somebody, you're better off just go ahead and find an attorney in your area, because, you know, that's what I always recommend. Just start looking around, start shopping. You know, go talk to one, and, you know, they're not going to want to give you the time of day if they realize you're just kicking tires. So, you know, just do your research. If you know police officers, as much as I say don't talk to the cops, if you happen to know cops, say, like, who would you recommend? Like, if you found out you were getting charged, who would you hire? Or who's a defense attorney you hate dealing with because they break your balls all the time? That's where I'd recommend you start. So I know that was a bit of a joke, but that's me giving you the honest answer. Bella's saying she actually still owes the lawyer. Sorry, people. Oh, okay. I didn't know. That's a shame for 199. Says, wait, what did you want me to send? The motion to disqualify in the Delphi case. If you have it, the motion to disqualify that was just filed by what's his name? Rosie or Rozzy or whatever his name is. Yeah, it was filed like just recently. And what's the guy's name here? I don't even remember. But it's the one guy who got kicked off the case. And why is this all acting goofy on me right now? Eric Fulham says I look weird without glasses. Yeah. This is an attempt. J-Rock saying this is an attempt at optics and PR by the DA. Oh, of course, 100%, because now Fannie could say, look, I've got the convictions. I've made the bad men pay. I've got the felonies. Now, granted, in a year from now, those felonies are going to be poof farts in the wind. But right now, she could say she's got the felonies. She fought the bad men. And sure, the Trump case might crash and burn, but as we get closer to the election, who cares? It served its purpose. So, J-Rock says, yes, I got my pleas. Yes, I got my pleas here. Look, they're all felonies. Well, some are misdemeanors. And yeah, sure, they're all going to walk away from this like it never even happened, but they pled out. Yeah, once again, this is not a strength move. This is not the strong move. This is not. Nobody sits here looking at saying, like, this is the baller move right now. Dr. Nick, what did you put over here in local chat? Oh. And then who is somebody's trying to message me on a Twitter. What the fuck is this? All right, well, we're going to move on. We are going to move along. Other news in the Trump world, as far as things are concerned, his gag order, Judge Chukkan, has administratively stayed it because it is getting appealed, which actually makes sense because if they shoot it down, well, then you look like a putz having to withdraw it. Her doing this allows the Court of Appeals to figure out what's going on. I don't think it's a bad idea. I understand that Jack Smith and all the DOJ, they're just so scared. He's the bad man. He's harassing us. Yeah, too bad. But the really big, oh, that's a shame, says, yeah, talk about whipping his dick out on the table. I know from what I've seen the screenshots of it, but I want the actual thing because it's a lot easier to present. So yeah, if you could say that to me, it'd be pretty, it's pretty, guys shooting he can put a shot across the bow. But Michael Cohen, if we remember him, Michael Cohen, if you guys don't remember him, this is a good picture of him here. The cheese-eating rat, the cheese-eating rat, Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, his fixer, testified against him in his case against the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, regarding his organizations and with Judge Engeron. And Michael Cohen testified. And we know Michael Cohen's a liar. He got charged with lying to Congress, was pled guilty to it, and court had to admit, well, yes, I was lying to Congress. I've been lying before, but I'm not lying now about this. And then he had to say, well, what I told Congress wasn't true. And then what I've said before isn't true, but I'm telling the truth now. He was asked, did Trump ask me to increase his total assets based upon a number he said? Well, he had to say, well, no. But then he tries to say, oh, he's like a mob boss. He tells you what to say without saying it. But how do you know? Well, I just know. Just an absolute load of bullshit that's going on in that case. It didn't help things, though, that in the middle of all of this that was going on, in one of the every time there's a recess, Trump comes out into the hallway and all the reporters are sitting there asking questions. And he's been doing really good at dancing around the gag order that's in place from the prior restraint put in place out of DC. But he's still talking a lot of shit about what's going on here in New York. And as that happened, the judge called him back in and said, you're talking about my staff. I sentence you to contempt and I fine you $10,000. And to be fair, the judge points out that he doesn't believe Trump to be credible. And, there are times where Trump has said so many bombastic things, it is hard to take him at his word. So something that he's usually been able to rely on kind of got turned against him, and he was fined $10,000. Now that's being stayed because he's appealing that. I hope that gets appealed, and I hope this judge gets crushed for being an asshole. In addition to that, the judge said in this case, after Michael Cohen testified, and Michael Cohen is their key witness for the state, it's clear that Trump didn't tell him to do anything. And Michael Cohen's just sketchy as fuck. And he says, I've heard everything. There's enough evidence to fill this courtroom. The defense hasn't presented a case yet, so I would argue he's already shown he's not impartial, and he's already made his decision. So I think that taints everything he's trying to do going forward, in addition to all his other actions. But that is a concern that's there. But we will see. We'll see what happens with that going forward. I think that ultimately, yes, the judge is going to say Trump is a bad man and he'll salt the earth with the Trump organization. But Michael Cohen was there, and yeah, it was very interesting to see how he squirmed his way out of it. And I will say there was a reporter who covered the whole thing tweet by tweet and taken some really good notes. And yeah, Michael Cohen, basically, it wasn't clear when he was telling the truth or lying, but he's like, I'm being honest right now, guys. So I would just tell you, Michael Cohen was out there, and that's where he is right now. I know that's not the biggest update, but really that's kind of the biggest thing going on. Phil Swift is saying, President like Phil Swift for 199 says, never discuss cheese with rats. Yes. Still Life says worms have no gender. Oh, that's a shame. Thank you so much. You the man. You the man, bro. J-Rock says the worst possible rat is a lawyer that rats. Very true. That's the worst. That is the worst out there. The Dr. Gnome says, shout out. Yeah. Want to give a shout out to all my rats out there. Snitching it up. Zaven says, I know because I have a script that says so. Oh. Thank you. That's a shame. I appreciate it. I saw you say, I said it, bitch. It's like, bitch, I know I said you said it, bitch. Who you calling a bitch, bitch? Eric Foam saying, yeah. Hashtag snitch life. Oh. Zaven says, honest people never have to tell you about their honesty. Yes. Although, to be fair, Michael Cohen has had so many problems. It's hard really to hit him up with the right way on that. So I kind of understand you have to focus on the, yeah, it's a little different there. So we are now on a little bit of a sad note as far as some aftermath of January 6th and what's going on in the government's attacks on people for dare exercising speech. Ricky Vaughn, and if you guys remember, he was a memester, a man who was engaged in a wizard in the dark art of meme magic, if you will. Not to the level of Carpe Donktum, but he was a wizard in his own right. He was, Ricky Von the Gray. He hadn't become the White yet. Had put together a very funny meme. And the meme was, you don't have to worry about voting. You can text in your vote. If you want to vote for Hillary, don't have to worry about showing up. And instead, avoid the line, vote from home. And it looked like a Hillary campaign. Well, what happened? He was charged with He was charged with conspiracy against rights, in particular the right to vote. You know, they were never able to prove, well, who actually believed this? Well, nobody did. Did they bring in a person that says, I didn't think I could vote, or tried to vote by tweeting it or texting it? No. So what did he actually do? He made a meme, a funny one. And correspondingly, there were other memes just like it pointed at Trump voters. Text in your vote to the Trump campaign. And they're out there. And nobody got charged. But yes, Ricky Vaughn has been sentenced to 7 months in prison for his role in conspiring to interfere with potential voters' right to vote in the 2016 election. You know, this groundbreaking prosecution. Yes, that's the problem right there. When you are, if you are a prosecutor and you're having to say we're groundbreaking something here, that's never a good sign. It's never a good sign to be the first to figure this out, to be the guy getting it going. It's never, ever. You shouldn't be trailblazing when you're in the prosecution. That's not your job, is to, seek out new life and new planets, to go where man has boldly go where man has never gone before. No, that's not your job. Your job is to stay within the four corners of the law on those pieces of paper and operate within those. If Congress wants to create new laws, great. But to run out and go after this man who is making memes and political speech, just absolute horseshit. Absolute horseshit. Absolutely horrible what they did to this man. Absolutely horrible. It should never be that way. There's no excuse for it. But they think this is what should happen. They think this is what should happen. It's our job to go out and figure this out for you. Don't worry. We'll help you. Why do they think that? I mean, that like I said, this should be terrifying to you. And this is the actual thing he put together. I mean, it looks like Hillary Clinton had. It looked nice and spiffy. Looks pretty funny. And yeah. Now, all this other shit up here, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But this just shows you, yeah. Oh, vote from home, a Hillary campaign. Ha, 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 ha. Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. That's, I mean, like, we can take a look at it in a little more in depth here. And, it says text Hillary, we'll make this happen. You must be 18 or older to vote, 1 vote per person, must be a legal citizen of the United States, vote by text not available in Guam, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Hawaii, paid for by Hillary for president. I mean, look, it looks pretty hilarious. But that's, I mean, and this demonstrate, and as they tell everybody, this demonstrates our commitment to prosecuting those who commit crimes that threaten our democracy. Did it really threaten our democracy? Who was threatened? Nobody was. Nobody ever came out and said, I texted my vote in because I thought this was true. It was clearly satire, even for the dumbest of sons of bitches out there. But we can't like this. We can't tolerate it. Okay. This part, though, here is the best. As proven at trial, he had a Twitter audience of 30 or 58,000 followers. An MIT analysis linked him as one of the most significant influencers. It absolutely horseshit, because notice there's nothing in here. Look, they talk about everything he did. No person ever testifies saying, I was confused. Nope. Nothing. This case investigated by the FBI, and that's it. So what happens? What are we supposed to do with this? They even admit we didn't have anybody here. There are times where you do have a crime that doesn't have a specific victim, and I get that. But yeah. Getting back some things. Yeah, that's all I can say at this point. Early Day says, if someone says trust me, I don't trust them. Yes. Memecraft. Yes. Yeah. Never start a sentence with an all honesty. Yes. Still Life says Jack Valance blocked my way to the men's room because I didn't have a members only jacket. Oh, funny. Erday says he was just filtering out people ineligible to vote. Yes, too stupid to vote. Oh. Yes. Keith Ethics says they're only mad because he said you needed to be a citizen to vote. Like, oof. That's that's very funny the way you put it like that. Yes, that is very, very true. Geez, it was just. And then yes, it's the idea that it's just threatened our democracy, you peasants. Not, our democracy. And I'm not using the royal our democracy. Just our democracy. Spike, I think you're very true on that. Very true. June says, why don't we fight fire with fire? There were Trump ads also. Sure, but the problem is right now we don't control the DOJ. And even if Trump were to become president, whoever you want to put in president, Ron DeSantis, whoever, the DOJ is an infested and disgusting organization that needs to be cleaned out from top to bottom. So that would have to be done first. Eric says, I don't know how that's not covered under free speech. Well, I think he'll have the ability to appeal it going forward. So. Justin Hancock says he needs to be worried about Hillary suiciding him while in jail. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen to him. Honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. June says, can't we fight that in state court? It's a federal case, so it doesn't matter. It's a federal case, so it doesn't matter what happens there. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah, you can't do anything about it because it's all federal stuff. So, moving on to another January 6th related issue, Owen Shroyer. You guys know Owen Shroyer. He is one of the people on InfoWars. He has his own show. He is a reporter, one of the Frogman's, oh, hold on here. Nico says my face is a federal case. Thank you. He is a, employee of the Frogman, who's just as bad. It's a bad, bad man, the Frogman. Owen Shroyer had issues already previously before January 6th, where he had been charged with some matters, and part of it was he was told to not get involved in committing other issues and staying away from the Capitol building. Well, on January 6th, as we talked about before at his sentencing, that, he was involved in egging on the crowd. How specifically? Judge never said. Nico says the water filter man. Yes. The water filter man. Yes. And yes, orange frogs. Well, yes, an orange frog might be gay. But we do know that Owen was sentenced to prison, and he began his prison sentence yesterday. He had his report date. And yes, as I think this is very funny here, they point out that he is being placed in solitary confinement for 60 days for his role in the Capitol riot, which it's interesting they call it a riot and not an insurrection. And they point out that he did not enter the building, and he was sentenced because he amped up the crowd. That's all he did. He never advocated them to do anything. He just got them all fired up. That was enough for this judge to be scared and, I need to put you in jail. Horseshit. Absolute horseshit. So he began his 60-day prison sentence. And he'll be back out, but he begins it today. Norm Pattis tried to get it temporarily postponed while the appeals are working through, because in his case, and it's a very common thing, when you have a prison sentence or jail sentence that's of such a short amount of time, there's no way for the appeal to be heard in time. It is very common to stay that sentence, because if it turns out you were right and there were valid grounds for appeal and things get overturned, well, your guy just spent 60 days in jail for nothing, and there's no recompense for that. The state doesn't get to say, like, oh, well, here's some money, go. Like, they don't do that. So in Shroyer's case, and I think his attorney was right, that this should have been postponed until his appeal was done. But that's not going to happen, so they're still going to have to appeal. I think that's correct. I still think it should happen, but he's going to be out before it's done. And here's Owen from back in 2019 when he got arrested, and this is what triggered him. That is that in his agreement to not get charged with any jail time back in 2019 when he interrupted a congressional hearing, that's apparently okay now. We were watching people last week do it for Hamas. He agreed not to use loud, threatening, or abusive language, which I think right here is also an issue of whether or not that was constitutional, because using loud language, well, if I'm being quiet, is that okay? I'm allowed to speak. I just can't be loud. Threatening language, okay. Well, threats are never allowed, but abusive language, is it abusive if, Alex Stein calls AOC a big booty Latina? But to engage in disorderly disruptive conduct, sure, you're not allowed to do that. But this part here was that, and that's how they got him the second time around. But we will see what happens. I think it was absolute garbage. But he did see that he was reporting to the federal FCI in Oakdale, Louisiana. He had his last meal on camera too. It was like a quarter pounder, which I'm not gonna lie. If you're going to do some time, like, I don't know if I need a quarter pounder. I might go to like get some Waffle House or something. That actually might be a little more productive. Or if you're that south, you could probably get Huddle House. But he's not a professional fat guy. That's me. But he's trying. He's trying. His Twitter points out that they have a source within the prison. He's doing well and remains in good spirits. So far, he's not getting fucked in the shower by 15 members of the Aryan Brotherhood. But he will be there because of the COVID protocols. Now, he's not going to spend the entire time in that. He'll spend some time there. If you guys kind of want to feel for what it's going to be like for him, most likely, if you guys listen to FPS Kyle on the PKA podcast, where he talks about a lot of his prison experience, it's going to be very similar for Owen. He's not going to be like in a cell. It's going to be more in like the dormitory style. It'll be pretty laid back. I mean, people aren't going to fuck with him. He's not really a problem. He didn't do anything people are going to get mad at him over. So he should be fine, and he gets out, and now he's got some street cred. I wish he didn't have to have it, but for right now, he does. So good luck, Owen. And if you're watching this and anybody who knows Owen, like, I can always fill in for you. Hey, Frogman, listen, Alex. I can come in. I can take over for him. I can fill in. Robert Barnes. Hey, get a hold of your boy. I can fill in for Owen. I can do it. I can run InfoWars for a while. Man, I'll sell so much fucking Alpha Force. Like, we won't know Alpha Brain. We won't know what to do. I can do it. Kimbo says he should have done a food challenge as his last meal. Oh, yeah. Show up there and just throw up. That's a shame. Says our money means their hegemony. Yes. Our democracy. Yes. Keopathic, this is actually a good question. So you said no recompense. Can you even sue the feds for money, or do they tell you to fuck off? So here's what happens. Absent, at federally, that there becomes issues about like the Federal Tort Act and all that. But even under state law, if you're wrongfully convicted and wrongfully imprisoned, you can seek to be recompensed for that. You can get paid for it. The problem is, if it turns out it was just an accident, it wasn't malicious. It was everybody got it wrong, but it was honest mistakes. The jury got it wrong. The judge got it wrong. The prosecutor got it wrong. When your defense attorney was sitting there banging on the table screaming, "You guys can't do this." Well, oopsie poopsie. No, you don't get paid for that. And in Owen's case, even if it turns out the DOJ did something wrong, the government might offer a settlement, but they don't have to. They're under no obligation. Think about it. Like, Ruby Ridge is a great example. They murdered Vicky Weaver and Sammy Weaver. Randy Weaver lost his wife and his son. And his best friend got shot. And they only got a couple $100,000 per settlement. Randy got a bunch more total, but yeah, they wrongfully, tried to send him in prison. The government's not gonna help you out here. So no. I understand the concern, but yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do. Even in state court, if you win, yeah. Colostomy Bag says, I apologize. Risky Krisky is streaming. I'll be back on locals. Okay. Hey, I'd say I'd love to be on with him because I'm gonna have to watch his stuff too at some point. Risky Krisky is a good channel to follow here on YouTube and on Twitter. So Alpha Fox says, I drink a 3-liter of Faygo and half a dozen hot dogs from Sheetz. Yeah, but I'd be worried about the cops beating me and then I throw up everywhere or something. That would be rough. Keopathic saying, if Owen is doing federal time, does this carry over to repercussions like not owning guns? As long as it's not a felony, it's not a problem. Because there are federal misdemeanor offenses. So as long as he wasn't charged with felonies, it doesn't, you can do misdemeanor action. Like just standing up at a congressional hearing and, barking your head off like an idiot can be a misdemeanor. Okay. There's things you can do that just because you're doing federal time. mean, all they have are federal correctional institutions. There is no federal like jail versus federal prison. I mean, they have detention centers, but those generally don't apply in the same way. If you're serving a sentence, you have to go to a prison facility. So if you had like a 30-day sentence, you'd have to go to some federal correctional institution. You'd be given a report date, show up somewhere, and that's where you go. So, yeah, Patty says, film yourself on Super Male Vitality. Alex will sponsor you. Maybe I will. Patty says, yes, Randy Weaver was also Green Beret. Yes, Randy Weaver was the man. Kimbo says, I'll be at the feds tomorrow with my contractor contraband as usual. Jeez. Yeah. Yes. So good luck, Owen. Get out in one piece. You'll be all right. Now, moving on. I know we talked about this before. And it's the Delphi murders. And we've talked about this ad nauseum so far. These are the allegations that Richard Allen murdered the two girls out in the woods outside of Delphi, Indiana. It's opened up a whole weird hornet's nest of like these Odinists running around and these weird, all kinds of weird shit going on out there. It's just all of it's weird. It's not clear what's going on. Everything just stinks to high heaven. And we had, actually, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, there was supposed to be a nice big suppression hearing on the case. And at that hearing, we were going to learn a lot of things. And one of those things is what the state had done to hide evidence. But as we got prepared to start, we found out that both defense attorneys had either already filed a motion to withdraw, or one had filed a motion to withdraw, and the other one was in the process of withdrawing. And that was it. So what happened from there? Well, we learned that there was a lot going on. There's a lot of fuckery going on here. And we learned from the defense because they filed a motion with their attorney saying the defense attorney hired an attorney, said you should avoid sanctions. Here's why, here's what's going on. And what we learned is that somebody went in and through their association, one of the defense attorneys, obtained the pictures of the crime scene and leaked them to another party, who then leaked them, who then leaked them, who then leaked them. Okay. But that is where things kind of ended until we see some things going on that have happened that are very, very weird. And one of them is this motion that was filed on the 25th. Now, I will start by saying there have been issues and allegations that the judge has engaged in a lot of fuckery at this point. Motions have not been getting filed in the proper order. Things have not been made available online. There's a lot of serious stuff getting into, and we'll get to what the judge is doing. But for right now, we have this right here. It's called a verified notice of continuing representation. And Bradley Rozzi was one of the attorneys previously representing Richard Allen. And that he says in November 2022, I entered my appearance on behalf of him. And we've kept going on this. On October 12th, the court communicated with the prosecutor, and he's referring to himself in the third person, and Attorney Baldwin, which is the other attorney working with the defense, that the court ordered them to cease work on his case until they were set to appear. Now, I've never had that happen. And and these guys are appointed. They're not retained, they're appointed. Because Richard Allen doesn't have any money. To tell them stop working, I don't know. I don't think the court having that kind of, I can't think of any authority the court would have in that regard. But they did. They told them to stop working a week before the hearing on the 19th. This chilling effect was essentially a strip of a Sixth Amendment right to representation. I don't, because otherwise they have to go and tell them like, look, we can't do anything right now. Whole thing is weird and it reeks. On October 17th, the attorney requested a conference to determine what they're trying to accomplish on Thursday, because you told us we can't work on this anymore, so what are we actually going to be doing? It's a suppression hearing. In response, the court ordered the defense and prosecutor to appear in chambers on the 19th. So before it started, while we were waiting for it to get going, they were already having an in-chambers meeting, which that's not uncommon. Meeting in chambers and meeting in chambers on the record, or even in chambers off the record, is not uncommon. That happens quite a bit. So the attorney showed up, and they showed up at 12:30. Okay, cool. And they're understanding that there was an audio recording of the in-chamber conference. So, and that's not an uncommon way of recording things, because there are two ways of getting things recorded initially. First way is using a court reporter who's sitting there with their little stenography machine and just do, and that produces the thing, which then is translated into a record. The other way things happen, and this is a more, wish I had an example of one sitting around here I could use. Another way to do it is you electronically record what goes on. Now, that itself is not the record. What happens then is you get a court reporter who then listens to it, and they sit there and, they probably sit there in their office. Generally, they listen to the file, and there's they type it out in their shorthand, and then they translate that into English, and then they create the record. So there is an audio recording of this, it appears. So it ruled on a bunch of different motions. It read a prepared statement to the attorneys, which the court reading a prepared statement, meaning the court read it's something that had already been written out. I'd like to know who prepared that statement, and it's not clear. The attorneys were accused of gross negligence in carrying out the responsibilities. The court then suggested that the attorneys engage in a discussion outside of chambers regarding the allegations. And the two attorneys are like, what exactly are you asking us? And the court said you have two options: either voluntarily withdraw from their appearances and exit the courthouse in advance of the hearing, which, who the fuck do you think you are, Judge? Or two, participate in the 2 p.m. hearing where a media camera was installed, the national media was present, law enforcement community was sitting there, and the court would read the prepared statement on the record and then disqualify them both in front of everyone. So this wasn't even an issue of, if you don't leave now, I'm going to embarrass you in front of everyone. I'm going to read off allegations and dismiss you. Now, notice there would be no chance to respond to this. This is the court making an action without anybody having a chance to contest the allegations the court is trying to do. Now, I can't imagine this attorney, could he be lying? Sure, he could be completely lying and making shit up. He'd have to be halfway fucking insane to do it, but he could be. But to make a statement like this, I'm assuming he's telling the truth here. For the court to run around and do all this is disgusting. And the judge doing this judge should be investigated, put in front of the Judiciary Committee that they have in Indiana. Not only that, but their disciplinary council, because you're still an attorney. So you have your judge problems and you have your attorney problems. If the judge really did this judge should be removed from the bench and disbarred. This is horrible conduct. Just absolutely fucking disgusting. After waiting 1/2 hour of an hour for defendant Allen to arrive, because they had to wait for their client to get there, they told him what was going on. They said, look, here's what's going to happen, man. The judge is trying to fucking put the screws to us. And Richard Allen said he wanted them to stick with them. You know what Richard Allen said? He trusts them. They have a rapport. I want to roll with you guys. So they point out, as of October 24th, the defendant objects to the court removing his attorneys. And they point out, they came back after they talked to their client and said that the court engaged in an ambush of defense counsel entirely. That's 100% an ambush. void of due process. Richard Allen has the right to have his counsel. Not only that, these guys have the right to challenge allegations made against them. And they would not withdraw their appearance. But they said that it was not a voluntary withdrawal because they're acting under duress. Because the court's going to shame them in front of the world. You guys are forcing me to quit. I'm not quitting voluntarily. All these events occurred without any formal allegations of behavior by these attorneys, without pending pleadings, requesting disqualification, and without pending disciplinary complaints. There's no proof of anything ever going on. It's just they're poopy heads. That's not how we do it. That is not how we do it. In total, the two guys have practiced for 50 years without a substantiated disciplinary finding against either of them. While they were in chambers, the court never said what they did and how it compromised Richard Allen's defense. And in fact, the defendant doesn't believe this to be an issue. Now, in argument, though, it doesn't matter because he's not an attorney. He might not know. There are no bona fide facts or circumstances wherein the attorneys engaged in gross negligence, or there was showing that there was any negative consequences to another party. Attorney Rosie's oral acquiescence to withdraw his appearance was forced, coerced, and driven only by the court, which delivered its options: quit or be shamed in public before being made to quit. It's just absolutely disgusting. And they were smart about it, though, because this public statement would have tainted the jury pool. I mean, these guys are worried about themselves, but they're still looking out for their client. This is the good stuff. These guys are good. And I give them all the respect in the world for it because they were still looking out for number one, and number one is their client. They didn't want anything bad to happen to Richard Allen, so they said, you know what? I am going to bow out. You're forcing me out here, but this is wrong. And they knew it was wrong, but if they forced the issue, it was going to hurt their client because it would have been out on national news, and that would have really hurt him even more. Harming their defense and undermining the relationship and creating an actual conflict. So they did what they could here. They made the best of the shitty situation, and I commend them for it. You have to make the tactical, you make your moves, and then you address them later. The jury trial is set to start January 8th, a full year and 3 months after his arrest. The appointment of new attorneys is going to delay the case, and we talked about that, new attorneys. So, however, Attorney Rossi moves forward with his representation, there's no need for two newly appointed attorneys to dedicate hours of learning the case. There's no need to marshal all discovery, return to the prosecution. No need to bring up to speed the investigators and staff or anybody else. Any successor lawyer would have the convenience of working with Attorney Rossi to become familiar with the matter. And it would be in a fiscally responsible way because remember, these guys are court appointed. They're billing the state. So all that time they just spent is wasted. They still bill the state. They still get paid. So they're pointing out, even for the sake of judicial economy, but also fiscal responsibility, we're not wasting any more money if you let us keep going. There are no circumstances in Rule 1.16 of the Rules of Professional Conduct which warrant the withdrawal. And this attorney right here, this is some big dick energy. Look, Judge, I ain't fucking quitting. Just like in Wolf of Wall Street. I ain't going fucking nowhere, Judge. I ain't going nowhere. Attorney Bradley Rossi, he just whipped his dick out and slapped it on the table. I mean, that's a shot across the bow. Laying out what the court did. I mean, this is a motion to disqualify here, but we'll get to that motion in a second. But holy shit balls. He putting in the work there. That's Shame says, I don't know why she hasn't been already. It's unfucking real. It's Tritton says, basically, no, Judge, you are out of order. Yes. Yeah, very true. Are saying, what case is this? This is the case of Richard Allen. He's accused of murdering 2 girls out in Delphi, Indiana. And it's been an entire disgusting issue about the police suppressing evidence, doing things. Oh, do we oh, you know what, guys? Before we get too far, I do have something I need to say here. In some breaking news, it concerns Clyde. As you guys were aware, well, the Ewok-looking dog got a haircut, and I did not encourage this to be done. This was not my call, but he did get a haircut. On the plus side, I can go like this. He smells really good. Doesn't smell like nasty dog anymore. But yes, he did get shaved. So here you go, Bubby. I'll let you back down. You can forward all complaints about his fluffiness being removed to future Mrs. Martin 2.0. But just getting that out there. Go on, bud. Or you can leave him in here. That's fine. So, not my call. But it gets only worse from there, and we'll continue along with what happens. There were some other documents that were filed, and one of them is a motion to continue. Now, this was also filed by Attorney Rossi, and he brings up there's some issues here. The counsel for Richard Allen is unable to locate any specific order, for the hearing on the 31st. The hearing date, nor is there any order articulates what matters are to be addressed and how much time they're addressing these things for. And that's important. What kind of hearing are we having, Judge? You haven't told us. However, there have been some discussions that, well, we might be doing a motion to suppress that day. Okay. They also point out we filed a motion for the Franks hearing, which is disqualifying the state and dismissing the case because the state has abused discovery and hiding evidence. That hasn't been addressed. In October, they filed an update to that saying, hey, Judge, we need this. The defense also filed another Franks hearing notice in October. The next day, you haven't told us what's going on. And since October 14th, they've been told quit working. So what is going on? What are we going to do this day? Nobody's telling us. They point out again, the court caused them to withdraw from this case. They point out there's only one attorney of record at this point. And then, yes, on or about the 25th, Attorney Rossi filed a motion to disqualify. Now, he does bring up a point that this motion to disqualify should take precedent over anything. And that's very true. A motion to disqualify saying, Judge, you're such a piece of shit. You can't be involved in this now. Well, that has to be addressed before the judge rules on anything else. That should take precedence. And what is the motion to disqualify? We'll get to this here. This here. I don't know if anybody can get in touch with this attorney, but this is some big dick energy. This right here. Oh my God. I was reading it before. It's just like, gets you hot. So this is a motion to disqualify, and there just comes out swinging. Trying to disqualify Judge Francis Siegel, which I love how it's like Judge Siegel. I'm sure she hates that, and I hope that grinds her gears that I'm mocking her too. So a judge is disqualified whenever their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Yeah. A judge's obligation not to hear or decide matters in whether a motion to disqualify is filed. Yeah, I've asked for you to be disqualified. You have to stop doing the rest of it. A judge should disclose on the record information the judge believes the parties or lawyers might reasonably consider relevant in a motion for disqualification, even if the judge believes there's no basis for it. And this goes back to the idea of you reveal all any potential conflict of interest, any potential issue. The appearance of impropriety is considered impropriety. So if the judge comes out and says, look, yeah, here's some stuff going on. I don't think it's a problem. You guys sort it out amongst yourselves. Now, this is the issue. The judge is removed or concealed or allowed to remove by the clerk of court defense pleadings from the chronological case summary in violation of the Supreme Court's administrative rules. There's rules for that, But the judge is abusing the ability of the public to see what's going on in a court filing. So it's not just the state hiding things, it's the judge screwing with things. And then the clerk of court is involved in this. That's a separate entity. The clerk is now doing what the judge is telling them to do. They're fucking around in this. So there's a lot of people whose asses are in trouble now. The judge has not hidden any filings from the state. It should be easy to disprove this if you're the judge, and the judge can't. I guarantee it. The Indiana access to court records rules, which are part of the ability of a free and open society to know what's going on, and I'm sure is enacted by legislation as well, says all persons have access to court records provided in this rule. You know, all persons, including the media and the general public, shall have the same basic level to court records. You know, the judge is allowed or violations of public access because those acts have only shielded documents from the defendant. They demonstrate a clear lack of impartiality and fairness. Yeah. And then they get to the parts that already happened, that they were told to cease work on October 12th. Okay. They interfered with the attorney-client relationship. Yep, they prejudiced things. On October 9th, she read her prepared statement and basically ambushed these guys and creating an ethical dilemma. And as I said, these guys protected the record how they could. They protected their client how they could. I mean, but that was like a Sophie's choice ultimately for them. She ambushed them with the, well, they call it a Hobson's choice, but yeah. And with the public shaming. And she said that I'm going to read the statement and embarrass you. Sorry, no, we ain't. These guys ain't backing down. They are not backing down. Now, this is the part where they talk about the judge's complaints. Okay. So they point out that a press release was issued by the defense in November before the court's gag order and only after repeated press conferences by the prosecution. So before the judge said no one's allowed to talk, they gave out a basic bitch press release. And this is after the prosecution's already been running their mouth at press conferences. If one side's already been talking, you do have the right to respond. Neither side should respond in a public setting to the press like that in the case. Prosecutors shouldn't be doing it, but if they do it, you get the chance to respond back. You know, what was the intent? It was to level the playing field. This is well within the obligations of a defense attorney. She never expressed any concerns by the prosecutor over their press conferences. Sounds a little biased. The two motions filed, which address the health and safety of Richard Allen, you know, and address the immediate transfer, doing the not so coincidental, undisputed facts that the Norse Odinist and all these fucking weirdos who practice paganism because they're fucking losers and want to be, I don't know, whatever out in Indiana, were also escorting him around the prison, that his health was in rapid decline. You know, the defense team had videos of these patches and all the Odinist stuff on him. The guards admitted to wearing them, and they noted a connection between the murders and Odinism. And the judge is not doing anything about that. Hey, there's some serious concerns. Nah, I ain't worried. That Attorney Baldwin, who was the other counsel at the time, drafted an email response to co-counsel, but sent it to the wrong person due to email population. You know, you're typing in like something, and we've all done that. And this is the point here. We've all done that. That happens all the time. They point out that these guys shared like the first three letters of their first names. You know, the email attachment contained no information. It was just a bare bones outline of what they were talking about. So it wasn't even anything critical. It's just like, hey, Brad, we're working on something. It's like, oh, sent to the wrong Brad. There's an attorney here in Ohio. His name is Sean Martin. Seanmartin. The only difference between me and him is we share the first name and last name. We don't share a middle name. His middle name begins with A. Mine begins with P. I still get stuff for him every once in a while. We're on different ends of the state. We're like 2.5 hours, 3 hours from each other. Different ends of the state. I still get stuff from him. He gets stuff from me. Attorneys, like, if there's cases that are going on, sometimes they think it's him. For example, I have a client we just had his trial. He's going for appeal. The appellate attorney contacted the other guy because that's who he thought it was. And then it took him like an hour to realize there's two of us. So he finally got in touch with me. Oopsie poopsie. Shit happens. The court alleges that the defense put improper statements in their Franks memorandum. How does the judge know until they've had the hearing whether or not it's improper? Not that they're false or misleading, just improper, in our opinion. Okay, based on what? You've read the briefs, but have we had the hearing yet? How do you know it's improper? Sounds like you're prejudging things. The court had disdain for the defense for not filing it under seal, which there's no obligation for them to do so. There's no order to do that. The memorandum was demanded by the prosecution before there could be a Franks hearing. This part here is just beautiful, though. It's an impressive piece of legal writing that has been lauded by defense experts across the nation. It was, again, required by applicable guidelines. I like the fact that, the judges didn't like it. That Mr. Rossi filed a tort claim notice to preserve the rights of his client. The court opined this action amounted to gross negligence. I don't know what the tort claim issues are here, but, the issue was to preserve the rights of a man who's being shuttled off to secure detention and locked up and isolated only with a tablet. He had no ability to speak to his wife, and his private phone calls were being recorded. His own attorney is required to make advance reservations to visit him at the prison. It's impractical that he would have the means to prepare his own tort claims and to secure private counsel to do so. So all the actions he's actually, it makes sense now. Any abuse he's suffering as a prisoner, they're allowed to do that. He's filing it on his own time. Giving the basic notice of I intend to sue to protect rights. How is that a big problem, Judge? Judge Gull, how is that a big problem? That the attorney Baldwin hired an attorney to represent him in the matter. This was not true. The attorney was betrayed by a friend and was subject. There was subsequently related suicide. As a friend, David R. Hennessy suggested he needed a lawyer to speak on his behalf and volunteered. No fee was arranged between the two. The court also alleged the undersigned put volatile facts in the memorandum regarding sanction disqualification. The true facts in a criminal case are often volatile. There was no untruth. So once again, this judge is being a complete fucking asshole. Judge Gall has a scuffed tampon, it sounds like, and it got impacted. But listen or do this shit to these people. The dissemination and leak of the crime scene photos in which neither attorney had knowledge or participated in. They didn't do anything wrong. The paramount obligation is to zealously provide quality representation. That's the job of a defense attorney. But that's, even when you're appointed, you do that. Everything cited by the judge was not attributable to the attorney or excellent ethical lawyering in the best interest of his client. Throughout the pendency of this, the defense has caught the state lying every fucking time, withholding exculpatory evidence and discovery violations, which the judge doesn't seem to care. And it's true. Judge doesn't seem to give a shit. Judge hasn't gotten all upset about the state yet. Not at all. I mean, that's a shame. You said the Warriors. These guys, even though Attorney Bradley looks like he's kind of bailed, I mean, I don't know if he can get back in at this point. But this attorney right here, Bradley Rossi, dude is fucking putting in work, man. Like, they're busting shots, and he's busting right the fuck back. I mean, this guy is guy is fucking hanging in there. This is this these guys are this is like, I've said it before, the stage of history calls you, and it's your turn to take your, pace on the stage of history. It's like opening Soul Calibur. Welcome back to the stage of history. Shing. When you fire it up, the stage of history said, Bradley Rossi, it's your turn, man. Step up, brother. Dude has come out fucking guns blazing and is just fucking lighting it. He is burning it down. Not a lot of attorneys would fight like this. Not a lot. And I'll say this much. God forbid I'm ever in this situation. I hope I fucking fight like this. I'd like to think I would, but that's kind of the idea that, we all think we're going to be gangsters until it's time. This guy, if at the very least, we all know at this point he's on the do not fuck with list. There's a do not fly list. There's a do not fuck with list. And this guy's entered his name on that with chiseled it in stone. The courts routinely expressed umbrage at defense counsel's representations through investigations and filings, while silently abiding by the discovery delays by the prosecution and false statements by their agents, which have routinely happened. The judge coerced an oral request to withdraw from Attorney Rossi that not to comply with the rules of trial procedure, and further coerced an oral request for the other attorney to withdraw. Judge has not exhibited any concern to protect the physical and mental health of the accused. Although, to be fair, just so we're on the same page, most judges don't. They'll say oh, well, you know what? If there's any problems, oh, well, the sheriff will take care of them. Or, I order that the sheriff take care of it. And that's all that happens. So. Carrie's saying right now, how can we help him? I don't know. I think the only way you can help is by just saying, look at this cock-sucking hoe of a judge. Francis C. Gall. We're tightening up. Wish I had a producer and I wish I could call Murray. Murray, tighten up on me. Tighten up on me, Murray. And he'd be in the back kvetching oy vey, he's going to get us taken off Twitter. He's going to get us taken off Facebook. They're going to shut us down. It's I better call my family members in the tribe. Judge Gall, or whatever, however the fuck you call yourself out there, Toots, you are fucking contemptible. You are a horrible, like I've said, people like you are a bigger fucking threat to our democratic institutions, our common law foundations, and everything that we supposedly define as American here than any member of ISIS, any criminal, anybody out there you might consider a bad guy. You really are the fucking baddie right now. You're the absolute baddie. And I hope the hell you have to answer for what you've done here, because this is fucking disgusting. If even 10% of this is true, it's absolutely fucking disgusting. That's all I can say. 1% of this is true. It's absolutely fucking disgusting. 1%, it's disgusting. 0.1%, it's disgusting. I don't care if there's only a micron of this is true. A micron. I think isn't a micron thinner than a human hair? Even if it's that thin. That's small. I'm talking about shit at CERN. They're super colliding and making black holes with. It gets smaller. It's like antimatter. That's how little of a thing so far. Many of this shit is just like antimatter. It's not even. Is it even real? It's hypothetically it's real. You're fucking awful. You're horrible. Absolutely horrible. Just absolutely garbage. But we need to finish this up because we're almost done. This is our last stop for the night. as well, by the way. We'll get to Congressman Bowman next week. Stevie says, Sean, get the whiteboard. Well, I'd like to. I got to be careful about that because I am a member of the bar and I have to be careful about how I further describe members of the court, even if they're in another state. You guys can say whatever the fuck you want. Now, I will say, guys, do not threaten this person. Do not harass them. Do not do anything that would break the law. But make it known this judge is a contemptible piece of shit. Make it known. There's nothing wrong with giving sunshine to this, letting this mold, this disgusting, creeping black mold that's eating away at the people of Carroll County, Indiana, and eating away at Richard Allen's rights to get spotted in the sun and killed and just evaporated and corrected. So I'm not talking about Ryder trucks and fertilizer yet. Not again. There is things that can be done, and this attorney is doing God's work right here. This will get sorted out because this is being done the right way. But let's get back to it. And I'll answer you guys' questions there, but we'll get to it. Throughout the proceedings, Judge Gull has deliberated bias and exhibited prejudice. Yes. Counsel for the defendant are appointed pauper counsel. I'm surprised they use that. In Ohio, we're a little more dignified. We call you indigent. You're not a pauper. That just means you can't afford it. It's like informa pauperis. And upon appointment, judicial control and oversight of the appointed counsel is inappropriate. It's very true. There should be no. You don't get to control me. We are not a branch of. We don't work for the judiciary. Counsel cannot and should not dictate the process of representation or improvidently curtail counsel's representation. It has done so without notice or given them an opportunity to be heard. It did it of its own accord. Nobody asked for this. Now, there are times when the court might have the ability to act sua sponte of its own accord. But no due process was afforded to anybody here. And they point out in the judicial conduct, a judge shall act at all times in a manner that promotes public confidence in the independence, integrity, and impartiality of the judiciary. It shall avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. Well, that's failed here. Good job, Judge Gull. And they bring up that she prepared her statement, and within minutes, she took the bench and informed those present that there was an unexpected turn of events. Yes, that you revealed yourself to be a complete piece of shit is the unexpected turn of events. I mean, I guess for us, it was unexpected. For the defense counsel, I'm like, they realize you're a complete shitbag, but, you revealed yourself. The true enemy was yet to reveal itself, and apparently it was the judge. So she stepped out front and center. The only clarity offered up by these statements, they were entirely inconsistent with their actions in chambers, and that forced the attorneys to withdraw. And they just lay out the judicial code of conduct, and they just fucking light her up. It does not indicate that any such opinion of the court allows removal of appointed counsel without due process and against the wishes of the accused. That's generally true. If the defendant wants his attorney, and because that's the funny thing. I guarantee you, Judge Gull has said this before when a guy's had appointed counsel. Your Honor, I don't like this guy. Well, you have the right to an attorney, not one of your choice. Well, in this case, Richard Allen's like, I want the one you gave me. Can I keep him? Well, you're not entitled to an attorney of your choice. So I'll give you a different one. I'm sure the judge has never tried to throw that in someone's face before, but now is using that as an excuse to hide. But Bradley Rossi, that is like, ooh. Just bite your knuckles on that one. I mean, that is some, whoo, lad. Whoo, lad, Lord child, like, whatever you want to say. That is some, whew. I mean, basically, he just went ahead and just called down the thunder. DeMarie says, who rules on this at this point? Well, the judge has to rule on the motion to disqualify. So it goes to Judge Gall. And she'll take a look at it, because that's the problem with a rule motion to disqualify. When you make that motion, you're basically calling the judge out. So at this point going forward, you kind of fuck yourself, because now you're telling the judge, fuck you, and the judge gets mad. But to be fair, the judge already hates them and they're already in shit, so can't make it worse. As Ave, the Canadian wizard of fixing things says, if it's already fucked, you can't fuck it. You can't. If it's already broken, you can't break it more. If it's already fucked, you can't fuck it worse. So, yeah. That Shame says truth is an absolute defense. Yes. So, Zaven says, what is their motivation for so egregiously abandoning their ethics? I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I knew. That's a shame. And I know because of your knowledge and involvement over there in Indiana, it's not misconduct. The discovery disclosures anticipate mistaken disclosures. They do. Ninja Bread Man says, who do I main in Soul Calibur? God, it's been a long time since I even played. I don't. Oh. This is pinnacle in attorney ethics. It's a rare sight. Yes. Especially from the defense side. A lot of guys would just say, fucking, I'm out. Oh, well. Or they might fight, but they didn't fight the right way. The allegation and nickname that there are public pretenders. And so, it's been deserved. Appointed counsel being called public pretenders has been well deserved throughout history. Attorneys have earned those titles and those being treated like shit. It happens. This guy, he's my dog. I'd buy him a drink. I'd love to interview this guy when it's all said and done. Eric says he's unfuckwithable. Yeah. And then Carrie, you point out, like, how can we help him? I don't know. Like I said, just make sure that the story's getting spread. And, I might work with, I'll try to speak out with That's a Shame to see what we can figure out. And there's things that can be done about doing that. Patty says, I wonder if the lawyers are owing this too. Indiana was also ground zero for the Klan in the 1920s. Yes. And right around the World War I time, yes, Indiana seized power through the Klan and was all throughout the state house, all powers of government, and then they raped or murdered some girl and it all fell apart. So That's a Shame says this is more dangerous than 1,000 Satanist child murderers. Yes. Jim says, can we at least talk about flour and fuel oil? Sure. Breach says, am I going to cover Larry Vickers being a Russian op at some point? Yeah, I'll be covering that along all of his gun issues and then filing Russia sanctions. And that's going to be in the video tomorrow. So that's it for tonight, guys. I was pointing out real quick. Representative Bowman is getting a misdemeanor for pulling the fire alarm. He's not being charged with, insurrection or anything nonsense like that. Oh, there, I got the fly. Cool. D. Marie says I should have him on a show. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. But in the meantime, the dude's got to work. This man ain't done fighting. This man ain't done fighting at all. And I hope I'd love for nothing more to see him standing on top of a smoking pile of rubble when this is done, smoking a cigarette in victory. So that is it for tonight, guys. We are well past the 2-hour mark. Thank you for everybody being here. Everybody over at Kick, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you so much. Everybody in the Rumble ghetto, I'm sorry we didn't have as much interaction tonight, guys. That is my apology here. I know this wasn't the best night, but some nights you don't hit a home run, but we'll be back at it next week. If you guys are sticking around over on Locals, we will be doing the after show. Should be a fun time. I know, and I did want to mention this thing though, because this is very true. Yes, Clyde has been groomed. Thankfully, not by Drex. Drex is not the dog. Drex did not come and cut his hair. You know, Drex didn't come by and say, yo, Sean, need to take your dog to a BDSM dungeon. So he's okay for that for now. But with that being said, everybody, I want to say thank you to everybody here, everybody who's commented, also all the super chats. Thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate all of that, all the interaction from everybody here. And I will just end with until next time. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. And I will just say, I mean this, guys, read some of these motions by Attorney Rozzi. This is, that guy's paying the freight here. So that's it for me tonight, guys. Take care, everybody. Gary says these dogs ain't loyal. Yes. Good night, guys.